Hello everybody and welcome back to another not applicable Formula 1 video. We finally know what the Formula 1 2022 grid is going to look like. That's right, every single livery has now been revealed. So, it's only right that we do ourselves a little tier list of the liveries so far. And obviously there'll be different liveries over the course of the season. We already know that Alpine is going to have a livery for the first two races, which is predominantly more pink than they have right now. But there'll be special liveries throughout the season too. But we know our 10 main liveries, the rainbow of colours that we're going to see pretty much every single weekend. So let's delve into it. Let's have a look at every single livery and of course rate them from beautiful, almost perfect, standard, bit boring and quite ugly. We'll go in chronological order. We saw the Haas first, but actually I'm going to look at the Haas now that it's been slightly changed, obviously due to circumstances outside of Formula One's control. Obviously, I'm not going to talk anything about that. I'm just going to focus solely on the livery. But if you are involved, if you are Ukrainian, make sure you keep yourself safe. And people involved and around that, make sure you are keeping yourself safe. But let's have a little look at this Haas livery. I actually quite like it now that it's a bit more plain, a little bit white and red, and the contrast between the two I do think is very, very nice. But it is kind of standard Haas, isn't it? It doesn't do anything special for me, and therefore I'm going to stick it in the standard category. I think, if they were going outside the box, maybe they could have done a little bit more with it, but it's pretty nice for a Haas livery. Then we had the Red Bull reveal, and obviously the Red Bull car, which looks completely different to the one that was revealed on stream, but I actually quite like the Red Bull. I know that it's the same every single year though, and is it getting towards the point where it's a bit boring? Like, I still quite like it. I do really like the Red Bull livery. I like the fact that they've obviously got a franchise that they're going for, the red, the yellow, the blue. It's the same every year, and it's literally just a copy and paste job every single year as well. But I feel like they'll do something special with it over the course of the season, and therefore I can get away with saying this is a bit of a boring livery. But that's Red Bull. It's always going to be a bit boring because it's always just going to be clean and good, but always the same. So it's kind of tricky to actually rate Red Bull because you know what it's going to be every single year. On the other hand, we've got this Aston Martin, and my goodness me, this is a pretty Aston Martin. I love the fact that obviously BWT have moved over, and therefore they've gotten rid of the pink. The yellow is back in, and I just love that electric yellow on the Aston Martin. The green is nicer this season too. It's just like a really popping green. And you know what? I'm going to put this at beautiful. I think this is a beautiful car, and we will look back at this over the course of the season and just be like, oh, that livery looks exceptional week in, week out, and it will stand out on the grid. And actually, I really like this season because we have got a rainbow coloured grid. There is lots and lots of different colours out there, including the McLaren. They've come back with the orange, but the blue is completely different this season. And actually, I much prefer this blue to the blue they used last year. It was like a deeper, darker blue, if you remember, in 2021. More of a sky blue this season with the accents, a little bit of black, a little bit of grey in there as well, and obviously the predominant yellow papaya orange is what they've got on the car. So I think it's almost perfect for me. There's something a little bit missing. Mainly it's not the Golf livery from the Monaco Grand Prix last year. I think if it was, it would be even better still, but I'm going to slot it in at almost perfect. I think it's much better than the Haas and Red Bull, but still could have been improved that tiny little bit. AlphaTauri, they kind of sit in a similar vein to like Haas and Red Bull for me, in my opinion. Like, they're always going to be fairly similar every season. You're always going to see them with the same color palette. They're always going to have the Red Bull logos everywhere and the AlphaTauri logos in the same place. But I quite like this livery. I like the little bits of detail that they've got, accentuating the car a little bit. The Italian flags on the wing mirrors, the Italian flags on the inside of the front wing, the decals going from white to blue and like the transition between them. I quite like this car, but I do think it could be classed as a bit of a standard car at this point. AlphaTauri haven't done anything crazy since they've taken over as that sort of leading sponsor at what was Toro Rosso. So AlphaTauri, it's been the same kind of year in, year out. I'm going to put it at standard. they're getting towards being boring if it's the same over the next couple of years as well. Then we had like a real pop with the Williams. I was not expecting this from Williams whatsoever. I think Williams always go a little bit out of the box with their liveries, and they've definitely gone out of the box with this one. They've introduced the red, which I actually think is really, really lovely on this Williams car. And it's just so much nicer than last year's. I didn't dislike last year's, and I like the fact that they go with like the patterned effects on the side of the cars, but at the same time, this livery is so much nicer than the one they had last year. And Alex Albon's coming back into the team, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. Latifi's going to look good in it as well. I love it. I'm going to put it in almost perfect. I really, really like that Williams livery. It needs like a tiny bit more. I think, it still looks a bit plain. Maybe it's just the blue that they use. It still looks a bit plain in places, but I love the introduction of the red. And like the integration of the red over the next couple of seasons, I could see them having a livery that properly stands out over the next few years. Then we move over to Ferrari. Sorry, I was going to say Red Bull for some reason. We move over to Ferrari, their red and black number. And it's difficult to say, right? It's difficult to say for me. I feel like I would have had this in beautiful. And Alfa Romeo have completely changed my mind. And I really like the fact that they've gone back to an old style livery. Obviously, they've kept the red, but the black wings do add something a little bit dramatic to this car. It looks like a championship-worthy winning car, but at the same time, I just wish there'd be a little bit more yellow. You can kind of see the inklings of yellow coming on. And also, we'll get onto the Alfa Romeo later, but Alfa Romeo did something with their rear wing and the Italian flag, which just would have looked amazing on this Ferrari car, as well as the front wing on the Ferrari. I think those end plates could have been a slightly different color, maybe that yellow, just to make them really pop. I would have liked to have seen a bit more Ferrari yellow over this car at some point, and therefore it's gonna go in almost perfect. I think it's better than the Williams. Is it better than the McLaren? It's a close game. I like these two a lot. I think the Ferrari could have been beautiful, but after seeing the Alfa Romeo, I've kind of dropped it down. So that's kind of how it's gone, Ferrari fans, I'm afraid. Then we move over to the Mercedes, and I'm gutted with this. I'm absolutely gutted. The renders that came out were so nice, and it looked like the silver was going to come back, and it was going to be sensational. It was just going to be shimmering around these tracks. But actually, if you look at like the fact they're the only silver car on the grid and no other car can go for silver. Like, no other car has any affiliation with silver whatsoever. So Mercedes being silver really should stand out, and they should have been able to do something completely different to everybody else. But it's just a bit drab. And actually, if you look at it from the side view, it's really, really ugly. Like, you can't see the numbers. Obviously, the stars that they've got, or the arrows, I guess, running down the side of the car also make it look a bit gross. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this Mercedes. I was when it first came out. I quite liked the fact they've gone back to silver. But after having looked at it and compared it to the other cars on the grid, I genuinely think it's a little bit ugly. Mercedes fans are going to hate me, but I think it is an ugly car. And I think they could have done so much more. I think the expectation was there from me, and therefore I really wanted something special, and it's just not. Then we have the Alpine. Obviously, they have the BWT this year, which means they have to have that pink involved somewhere. I love that BWT are just going to like slowly move around the grid and infiltrate teams with pink over the course of the season. Like, imagine a McLaren next year maybe with the orange and the pink, or maybe they go to Ferrari and instead of the black decals, they've got pink decals on the Ferrari. Like, I feel like BWT could just move their way around the grid and slowly infiltrate every car every year so that they've always got a bit of pink on them. But actually, I'm kind of disappointed with the Alpine. I really loved the Alpine last year. They had sort of the France livery going on, obviously the red, white and blue. They've still tried to incorporate the red, white and blue, I think. They've just change the red for the pink, and it doesn't quite work for me. I think it's a little bit too much, and especially the pink livery that they're going to be running in the first two races of the season is a little bit too much for me. It's too much pink. I'm not a fan, and I guess it's just a bit boring compared to what they could have done with the blue and the pink. I was so hopeful. Like, Alpine's livery last year was so nice. This year, not so nice. I think it's a bit boring compared to what they could have done with that pink. If they'd have used the pink a little bit more niche, I think there's just too much pink. If they'd added a little bit less pink and kind of moved it around the car a little bit and just little flashes, little specks of pink, rather than the big bulky pink, like front wing pink, rear wing pink, side pod pink. Like, if they'd have just implemented it a little bit cleaner, I think it could have been really nice. So it's a bit boring in my opinion, not quite up there. And the final car that we had revealed this morning, if you were there for the live stream, is the Alfa Romeo. And if you were there for the live stream, you'll know I think this is absolutely chef's kiss beautiful. This is an amazing livery. I absolutely love it. Like, it's just got a bit of everything. It's obviously got that beautiful rich red that Alfa Romeo have. The white is used perfectly. Like, look at those end plates. You've got the blacks in there cutting through the whites as well. The black and front and rear wing are black like the Ferrari, but they've just added in that extra little bit, you know, the white on the outside of the front ring, the red sort of banner across the top, and then the back of the front wing, they've also, the back of the rear wing, they've also got the Italian flag with the Alfa Romeo logo in there. It's just exquisite. I think this is the best livery of the season so far. I think it's the best livery we're probably going to see. I'm going to put it in top spot. Now, do I need to make any changes? I think the Alfa Romeo is the best livery. Aston Martin definitely second. These two are very, very close. This could easily be either way around. I do like the Williams livery. I think the AlphaTauri is slightly better than the Haas, so I'll shuffle them around. I do like Red Bull, even though it is a bit boring. I don't like the Alpine, and I think it is a bit boring compared to what I was expecting. And genuinely, I just really dislike the Mercedes after having looked at it for a few weeks and days. So that is my tier list. I'll leave a link to the tier list in the description down below if you want to do yours. I'm sure there will be some controversies in there, but thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you next time.